She stood back behind and she watched. She watched out for that little baby. She watched out to find out just exactly what was going to happen. If she hadn't been there, what may have happened? That is the question. What may have happened if Miriam hadn't been there? And as the princess came by and was going to take that baby, she said, I'll find you a nurse to take care of this baby. And we all know the rest of the story. Baby Moses' mother got to take baby Moses home with her and take care of him. And he grew up to be a great man of God. But what about little Miriam? If Miriam hadn't done what was right, if she hadn't been brave, from what I can understand, Miriam was about 7 years old. Do you have to be big to serve God? No. Miriam was just 7 years old. But God used Miriam. Then we went on to our next lesson. We talked about how baby Samuel had grown up when he was just a toddler. He was taken to the temple. How he stayed at the temple and helped Brother Eli for several years. Here he is, 12 years old, and God spoke to Samuel. God spoke to Samuel. And Samuel listened. He said, Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. When God whispers to our heart, boys and girls, we need to listen and obey. And that's what we learned. Samuel, because Samuel listened, God gave him direction and helped him as he grew to be a great man of God for him. We went on. We talked about the little girl that the Bible doesn't tell us who her name was. The Bible doesn't mention her name. But you know, she was still important because she was not afraid. When she was taken away from her family, she's living over in a country of the enemies. But when she heard about Naaman, you've all heard about Naaman with that terrible leprosy, she wasn't afraid to say, I know a God that can help. The true God of Israel can help Naaman. She wasn't afraid, and Naaman was able to be healed. And then we went on, and my picture of King Josiah went away, so we'll have to show you the craft. Josiah did what was right in the sight of the Lord. Josiah, just a little boy, 8 years old, became king. Can you imagine being a king when you're 8? 8 years old. And I told the boys and girls, he made a lot of changes in the country and turned a lot of people toward God. And the boys and girls here can't make other people do anything. They're not kings. But they can make sure they do what's right. We have one more lesson, which was yesterday, and then today we'll have our last lesson. Yesterday we learned about the little boy who was not too selfish to give God what he had. When here he comes with the 5 loaves and the 2 small fishes, and when those people were hungry, 5,000 men, plus women and children, hungry, they've been out hearing about Jesus. They're hearing Jesus talk and hearing what Jesus was doing. They've been seeing him do miracle after miracle. And it was time for them to all eat. They had to have food, and no one brought food but one little boy, but he wasn't too selfish. He was willing to give what he had for God. All of his moms and dads and boys and girls got to be fed with just 5 loaves and 2 small fishes. Now, not big loaves. They were a boy's lunch, remember. They were probably like a biscuit. Just 5 little ones and 2 little fishes. But he was willing. We talked about the fact that we don't have loaves and fishes to give God, right? clothes and dishes, but we have 5 fingers that we can use to work for God. We got 2 hands that we can use to help each other, to do things for God. We have 2 eyes that we can read God's Word. 2 hands to hold the Bible as we read God's Word. 2 ears that we can sit up and listen when the Word's coming through to us. God had this little boy was willing to work for God, even though he's just a little boy. And he did not have a whole lot to give. But God only asks for what we have, right? He's not going to ask to do something we can't, because he can help us. You all can help me one time. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. Right, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. And God can give us the power to do all things that we need to do for him. And it gets us on to our lesson today. And there was a man named Paul. And Paul, one day, Paul got in trouble. Paul was one of God's apostles. He was out and he was a teacher and he taught people about God. But somebody started a rumor about him. A rumor is when you tell something that may not be true, and you just tell it to be telling it. I think we might call it gossip, you know? Well, Paul had been out, he'd been preaching to the Gentile people because God told him to. He'd been teaching people that God loved everybody. He even loved the Gentiles. Paul had been telling them that. A lot of people that were Gentiles had turned their heart to God. A lot of them was living for God. And some people got pretty upset. God does not like those Gentiles. He does not like them. They don't deserve to be saved. They just didn't want to accept that God really loves every one of us. And Paul, one day as he was heading into the temple, that was, back here they called them temples. We call them church houses, right? As he was heading into the temple, these guys got a hold of him and they said, Paul's been taken. Paul's been taken, a Greek man, a Gentile man, into the temple. He's not allowed to take him into the temple, and that's what he's been doing. And Paul, he hadn't been doing that. Oh, but the people started moving toward him. They grabbed at him. They were smacking at him. They was going to punch him. They're trying to get him. The whole group was grabbing around him. They was going to tear him apart. They said he's not allowed. Do you know why the rumor got to be so bad? When somebody heard it, they had to go tell somebody else. You got to go tell somebody else. These things stirred up. God don't want somebody to go stir in trouble, right? Well, finally, there was a whole crowd around Paul. They were smacking at him, and the chief captain had came by, and he got his soldiers, and he said, let's take Paul out of here. They didn't know that was Paul. They just knew it was a man that was getting beat up. They said, let's take him out. Let's get him out of here and find out what's going on. So they came. They made the other men go away, and they ushered Paul into the castle. As Paul came inside, somebody said, what is all of this trouble? Why all of this problem? And as they were taking him in, as they was taking him in, Paul had stopped outside and he had told them. He said, let me tell these people something. He said, I don't know why you're all upset. I just know that one day I was walking down the road, and I thought I was doing the right thing. I had papers in my pocket. I was on the way to capture all the people that worship Jesus. And he said, as I was on the way to get them to put him in prison, he said, a big light shines from heaven. It was so bright, I fell onto the ground, and Jesus spoke out of heaven right to my heart and to my ears. I heard him. He told me, he asked me, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And that was before his name was changed to Paul. And Jesus told him what he needed to do. Saul said, what do you want me to do? He said, you go into the city. And he told him just exactly where to go. He said that it'll be told you what to do. God got a hold. Paul's telling these people, said, God got a hold of the man and sent him. His name was Ananias. And he came and he told me about the great things that Jesus had done. And he said, Jesus changed my life. And he told me that I needed to go out and tell other people. I needed to tell other people about how Christ could help them. And he told me to go talk to the Gentiles. Oh, the crowds are, no, 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 no. They said, hollering. And they started to come right up into the balcony to get him. And that's when the guards took him on inside. And one of the leaders said, take Paul, put him in chains, and beat him. We've got to find out why all of these people are upset with him. Oh, they got him in chains. They were going to beat him, and he said, whoa, doesn't the law say you can't whip a Roman unless he's gone to court and been proven that that's what he's supposed to have done? And they go, oh, we don't want to get in trouble. So they didn't whip Paul. But they put him in prison. While he was in prison, waiting to go talk to the governor to find out if he was really guilty, to find out if they was going to punish him, Paul had a very strange visitor. Well, it really wasn't strange, but it was strange that he got to come and visit him. They didn't keep him in chains all the time. As he was in the prison, there he is. He's in prison. And back then, you got visitors that come around to see you. And I don't think they paid much attention to little kids. Because little kids, they didn't think could do anything. They didn't think kids were too smart, okay? But God can work through little children, right? Well, one day while Paul is in the prison, he had a visitor. The visitor was his nephew. It was his sister's little boy. And I don't know, I was trying to check it out. They said sometimes families would send food in. And maybe he was taking some food to Uncle Paul. I don't know. But he said, psst, psst, Uncle Paul, I gotta tell you something. I've gotta tell you something. Paulie looked, and he goes, I heard that there's 40 men waiting. They're planning. I heard it. Tomorrow morning, they're going to see, they know you're going to be moved over to see the governor tomorrow night. So what they're going to do is tomorrow morning, they're going to wait outside and they're going to ambush you. Well, because they'll probably only send 2 or 3 guards around. They're going to ambush you. They're going to tear you up. They're going to kill you. Paul said, thank you for telling me. He said, now, I want you to take this. I want you to go get the captain. Go get one of the soldiers. The soldier came over, and Paul told the soldier, he said, take this little boy to your leader, for he's got a message to him, for him. So, the soldier reached down, took the boy by the hand. He must have been a little boy. Big boys don't like men to take their hand and walk around and hold their hand. They don't have to be led around by their hands when they're big, right? So, the little boy was taken. And he went and stood before the man that was in charge. And he said, the centurion said, you need to hear what this little boy says. He's got a message for you. And the man that was in charge said, come on, boy. And he takes him over. He goes, tell me what you need to tell me. Oh, do you think? He was just a little boy. You think that was kind of brave, right? He went and talked to this great big old soldier man and told him. He said, they're going to kill your prisoner, Paul. They're going to kill him. I heard them. They're going to take him and kill him tomorrow morning. There's 40 of them waiting. Tomorrow morning, they're going to take him and they're going to kill him when you have no guards around him. And the leader says, got it. I got it. You go back home and don't tell anybody that you talked to me. So the little boy, Paul's nephew, went on back home. And that night at midnight, remember, tomorrow's when he's supposed to be being jumped and killed, right? So that night at midnight, they come in and they say, come on, you're out of here. And there was 100 horsemen out there waiting. There was 200 soldiers. There was a group all the way around Paul. And they led him out of town. They took him over to see the governor. And he got to go and see the governor. And he got to talk to the governor. And as he was talking to the governor, he told the governor the same story that he told everybody else. Jesus Christ can make a real difference in your life. He can make you really new on the inside. And as I thought about that, Paul wrote about half of our New Testament. Look at that little boy. What if that little boy had been too scared, too afraid? But no, he knew that he could do what God wanted him to do. And God can use you and you and you. God can use every one of you boys and girls. You don't have to wait until you grow up to serve God. And that's really what the story is all about today. God can help every one of us to do what's right. And He doesn't want just boys and girls to serve Him. He wants moms and dads, cousins and neighbors. He wants every one of you to take that step in life, to yield your heart to Him. Because God's got the best gift any one of us could ever have. Right. And that's our story for today. Brother Borders has the rest of the service.